Let's talk about what chords are. You may have been playing chords for a really, really long time, and maybe you stop to ask yourself, what are chords? I actually don't even know what they are. I've heard of major chords, minor chords, whatever, seventh chords, but I don't really know what they are or understand them. Well, today we're going to break it down. It's going to be super, super simple. So let's just dive right in. The basic definition of a chord in music is 3 or more different notes played either at the same time, like this, or in a sequence or musical phrase, like an arpeggio. Those are the same 3 notes, just separated. But it's still a chord. In this case, it's the C major chord. C, E, G. We played the notes individually or as a group. Now, the next thing to know is that every chord has a root, third, and a fifth. Let's take our favorite chord example, C major. The notes in a C major are C, E, and G. Well, in a C major chord, C is your root, E is your third, and G is your fifth. In just a minute, we'll discuss how to find the third and the fifth of a chord. But first of all, let's just start off with the root of a chord. So in a C major chord, C is your root. In a G major chord, G is the root. In an A minor chord, A is the root. So essentially, whatever chord you're playing, the letter name of that chord is also the root of the chord. Now, where people can get confused is that the root of the chord doesn't always mean it's the bass note. In guitar, when we play our chords, very often, we try to strum chords where the bass note, the lowest note that you're hearing, is also the root of the chord. So in a C major chord, my finger 3 is on string 5, fret 3, 1, 2, 3, string 5, the second from the lowest string. That's a C note right there. So if I play that, it sounds really, really great. It's a C major. However, there is one lower string below it, the low E. Now, earlier I mentioned that a C major chord is C, E, G. This is called an inversion, where the third of the chord, or the fifth of your chord, is in the bass. So C major chord, another great example. Again, here it was C major with C as the lowest note we hear. And then if we want to do first inversion, we're putting the third of the chord in the bass, the E, and then we can also do second inversion, which would be C, E, G. G is the bass. Oh no, I'm out of fingers. What do I do? Most of the time, people will replace finger 3 on that string 5, fret 3 with pinky, and then put finger 3 on top on the bass string, the low E string. Fret 3, string 6. That's a G note. So that's our G. I think it actually sounds really, really great. That's second inversion C major chord where we've put the fifth of the chord, the G, in the bass. So again, here's C major. Here's C major with first inversion. And then here's C major second inversion. Okay, so a chord is 3 or more different notes played at the same time or in a sequence, got it. Every chord has a root, third, fifth, got it. Now let's talk about the different types of chords. There are major chords, which are kind of happy sounding. There are minor chords, which are typically sad, kind of sorrowful sounding. And then there is diminished chords, which are pretty tense, pretty dark, pretty tense. And then there's also augmented chords, which it's like, wow, okay, I'll admit on guitar, when you play them all at the same time, that might sound a little bit rough, but if we arpeggiate them, it sounds actually pretty cool. It sounds sort of like outer space, and it's actually used in a lot of atmospheric film music, for instance. So augmented chords, we're not going to see them very often, but they are there. Most of the chords that you're probably coming across so far are major chords or minor chords. And now for rule number 4. Every chord is spelled and organized using every other letter. We remember that the musical alphabet goes from A to G and starts over. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. That's it, and then it just keeps starting. There are sharps and flats in between, but don't worry about that right now. Let's just think about the musical alphabet really, really simply. A through G. So let's take A for instance. Why not start at the absolute beginning, right? A is the root. We're going to skip B and go to C. Then we're going to skip D and go to E. So A is the root, C is the third, E is the fifth. And that's pretty much how you spell chords. That's not going to tell you exactly, is that a major chord, minor chord? You have to know a little bit more about the spacing in between each of those notes, but that's really it. So let's do another one, for instance. How about a D chord, a D of some sort? So we're going to start on the letter D, because D is going to be our root. Now we're going to skip E and go to F, so F is our third. We're going to skip G and go to A, because the alphabet starts back over. A is the fifth. So that means a D chord, this is actually D minor, is going to be D, F, A. And that's essentially the method that we're going to do. Okay, so rule number 5 is that you can double certain notes of the chord, and you can also omit certain notes of the chord. I know that's a little bit confusing and annoying. Let's just take a look at it and we'll see it in context. So, going back to our C major chord, for instance, let's just take a C major, and if we look and we're going to start with the bass note on string 5, that C is the root, that's one C. Then we go down to string 4, that's an E, and then string 3, the open G string, that's a G. So even that right there is the full C major chord. But we still have this other finger down, and we still have these other strings we're playing, so let's just keep going. So finger 1 is down on string 2, fret 1. That's another C, same as string 5. So where finger 3 is and where finger 1 is, those are octaves. So C, E, G, C, and then open E. C major. So we have, in that context, we have 2 C's, 2 E's, and 1 G. And if you play the bass string down here, you can have 3 E's, which is pretty extreme, or you could do the second inversion C major chord we talked about earlier and have 2 G's. But that just goes to show you that a lot of chords that we play on guitar are actually more than just the 3 notes. And that might be a little confusing. It's like, we got 6 strings. I thought you said they were 3 notes. Yes, and a lot of times they are repeated notes. So let's quickly summarize the 5 rules for chord spellings we went over in this video one more time. Rule number 1. The definition of a chord is 3 or more different notes played at the same time or in a musical sequence. Rule number 2. The root of the chord is not necessarily always going to be the bass note. Rule number 3. We have major chords, minor chords, diminished chords, and augmented chords. Rule number 4. Chords are always spelled using every other letter. Rule number 5. Sometimes it's okay to double notes that exist in a chord or omit certain notes in a chord. Just remember that if you do omit a note in a chord, it's usually going to be the 5th. We'll get into why later. And that pretty much sums up our 5 must-know rules for building chords. I hope you found this video helpful. I'll see you in the next one.